In 1973, Elvis Presley signed a document he barely understood. The king of rock and roll put his signature on a contract that would eventually cost him over $100 million in future earnings, and he never saw it coming. For just $5.4 million, a fraction of what his catalog would eventually be worth, Elvis signed away the royalty rights to over 700 of his recordings. The very songs that made him famous would now generate wealth for everyone except him. Elvis had sold over 600 million records worldwide, starred in 33 Hollywood films, packed arenas across America. Yet at the moment he signed that contract, he had no idea he was giving away his financial future. When Elvis died just 4 years later in 1977, his estate held less than $5 million. For a man who dominated global entertainment for 2 decades, this number is shockingly low. The recordings he signed away, they would generate over $100 million in the decades that followed, money that never reached Elvis or his family. How does the biggest star in music history end up sacrificing a $100 million fortune for a quick payday? The answer lies with one man, Colonel Tom Parker, Elvis's trusted manager, who took an unprecedented 50% of everything the king earned. The same man a judge would later condemn as excessive and shocking before forcing him out of the estate. This is the story of how Elvis Presley, the most successful solo artist in history, lost a $100 million fortune without even realizing what was happening, and how his family fought to save his legacy from complete financial ruin. Elvis Presley met Colonel Tom Parker in 1955. Elvis was just a hungry kid from Tupelo with big dreams and raw talent. Parker, nearly twice his age, promised to make him a star, and delivered spectacularly. Within months, Elvis exploded onto the national stage. His RCA contract broke industry records. Fans screamed and fainted at his performances. Money poured in from all directions, but success came with hidden costs buried in the fine print. Parker's management contract started at 25% of Elvis's earnings, already high by industry standards. It soon jumped to 50%. Most music managers took 15 to 20% of their artists' earnings. Parker took double that amount, from every record sale, every concert, every film deal, every piece of merchandise. Elvis never questioned this arrangement. He saw the fame, he counted the fans, he trusted the Colonel completely. Associates noted that Elvis saw Parker as a father figure and mentor. He never imagined Parker would put his own interests first. Behind the scenes, Parker negotiated backroom deals that benefited himself more than his star. Every financial decision passed through the Colonel first, and often without Elvis's full understanding of the terms. When Elvis occasionally protested a decision, Parker reminded him who built his empire and warned that questioning his methods could jeopardize everything. Their relationship thrived on dependency. As Elvis's fame grew, he became increasingly isolated from business realities. The Colonel controlled everything, from what Elvis recorded to where he performed, even to what he wore on stage. By the early 1970s, Elvis had become financially vulnerable. His spending increased while his hit records became less frequent. Parker saw an opportunity to cash in on Elvis's catalog, one that would forever alter the king's financial future. Parker would go to shocking lengths to maximize his profits, at a steep cost to the king. In March 1973, Colonel Parker orchestrated a deal that shocked music industry insiders. He convinced Elvis to sell the royalty rights to over 700 master recordings to RCA Records for $5.4 million. These weren't just random tracks, they were Elvis's crown jewels. Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel, All Shook Up, the very recordings that made him a legend. Parker presented it as a windfall, quick cash in hand, an immediate solution to Elvis's growing expenses. What Elvis didn't grasp was the permanent nature of what he signed away. The contract eliminated Elvis's right to income from future sales, streaming, and licensing of these recordings, revenue streams that would generate over $100 million in the decades that followed. Every time someone purchased an Elvis album after 1973, he earned nothing. When his songs appeared in movies or commercials, not a penny went to its original performer. The money split proved even more shocking. Parker took 50% of $2.7 million of the deal. After taxes, Elvis walked away with around $1.5 million, about 1/4 of the deal's stated value. Years later, in the 1981 lawsuit against Parker, Judge Joseph Evans would describe Parker's profits as excessive and shocking to the conscience of the court. His assessment wasn't exaggerated. By selling his recording royalties, Elvis had traded decades of steady income for a one-time payment that would disappear within a few years. Music industry experts estimate that these 700 recordings would have generated over $100 million in royalties over the decades following Elvis's death. Instead, that money went straight to RCA, not Elvis or his family. Industry insiders later compared it to selling your house while letting someone else collect the rent forever. Elvis had effectively sold his future for pennies on the dollar. This single transaction, more than any other factor, ensured that Elvis's financial legacy would be a fraction of what it should have been. In one signature, guided by Parker's hand, Elvis gave away the financial foundation of his empire. By 1977, Elvis Presley, the man who sold hundreds of millions of records, struggled to pay his bills. Graceland required substantial annual upkeep, with staff, utilities, and maintenance costs draining Elvis's resources. The IRS demanded around $10 million in back taxes, creating additional financial pressure. Elvis's generosity only worsened the situation. He regularly bought cars, jewelry, and even houses for friends and family without hesitation. In 1971, he reportedly purchased 13 Cadillacs in a single day as gifts. His daily expenses exceeded what most Americans earned in a year. But without royalties from his recordings, his income couldn't keep pace with his spending. The one-time payment from the 1973 deal had long since disappeared. The financial bleeding turned severe. Parker kept Elvis working relentlessly, tour after exhausting tour, show after grueling show. The pace was punishing for a man whose health was visibly declining. In a desperate move just weeks before Elvis's death, Parker booked another Las Vegas residency for a $750,000 advance. Elvis needed the money immediately to cover mounting expenses. Those close to Elvis recalled his increasing reliance on pills to sleep, wake up, and perform. The schedule was killing him, but the Colonel kept booking shows. Elvis was physically and mentally exhausted. The king of rock and roll had become a cash machine, producing money for everyone except himself. When Elvis died on August 16, 1977, his net worth stood at just $5 million, barely enough to cover taxes and outstanding debts. For comparison, other major stars of his era had accumulated much greater wealth. Elvis had generated immense wealth for others, yet died with almost nothing for himself. After Elvis's death, his father Vernon briefly managed the estate. When Vernon died in 1979, control passed to Priscilla Presley. What she discovered horrified her. Only about $1 million remained for Lisa Marie's future. Expenses mounted daily. Tax bills grew larger. Worst of all, the estate owned virtually no stake in Elvis's greatest assets, his recordings. Without drastic action, Elvis's legacy faced bankruptcy within years. Graceland might need to be sold. His memory could fade into a cautionary tale of mismanagement. Priscilla refused to let that happen. Attorney Blanchard Toole launched a full investigation into Parker's management. The findings shocked everyone involved. Parker's 50% commission rate violated industry standards. His failure to obtain a proper manager's license raised serious legal questions about all his contracts. In 1981, the estate sued Colonel Parker for breach of trust and exploitation. In court, Judge Joseph Evans didn't mince words. He described Parker's profits as excessive and shocking to the conscience of the court. He noted that industry standards for management fees ranged from 15 to 20%, making Parker's 50% cut indefensible. The ruling forced a settlement. Parker received a one-time payment of $2 million in 1982 and lost all rights to manage Elvis's intellectual property forever. "We paid him to go away," one insider explained. "It was worth $2 million to be rid of him forever." The man who once controlled every aspect of Elvis's life was finally cut out of the Presley legacy. But the damage had been done. The disastrous 1973 deal remained in effect, leaving the estate with limited income opportunities. Could anything be salvaged from the financial wreckage Parker left behind? Priscilla Presley faced an impossible situation. With about $1 million in the bank and mounting debts, she could either sell Graceland or find a way to make it profitable. She chose to fight. Instead of selling Elvis's beloved home, she developed a bold plan. What if the home Elvis loved could be open to the fans who loved him? On June 7, 1982, Graceland opened its doors to the public. The gamble paid off immediately. Within 4 weeks, the estate recovered all startup costs. Tourists flocked to Memphis to see where Elvis had lived. They wanted to stand in the famous Jungle Room, see his gold records on the walls, and feel connected to their idol. Priscilla didn't stop there. She partnered with CEO Jack Soden to launch Elvis Presley Enterprises EPE. They transformed Elvis's legacy from a financial disaster into a business powerhouse. They licensed Elvis's image carefully, ensuring quality control. They developed international branding campaigns that reinforced Elvis's cultural importance. They negotiated deals that gave the estate proper stakes in future profits. Merchandise became another key revenue stream. The gift shop at Graceland sold everything from postcards to replica jumpsuits, generating millions annually. By 1993, just 11 years after Graceland opened to the public, the estate's value exceeded $100 million, a 100-fold increase from its lowest point. In 2005, investor Robert F. X. Sillerman purchased 85% of EPE for $100 million. And in 2013, Authentic Brands Group acquired the controlling interest. Throughout these transactions, the Presley family maintained ownership of Graceland itself, ensuring Elvis's home remained family property. Today, Graceland welcomes over 500,000 visitors annually, and Elvis Week events draw thousands of fans from around the world. In recent years, Forbes has reported Elvis earning around $23 million posthumously, ranking him among the highest-earning deceased celebrities. While the family couldn't recover the rights sold in the 1973 deal, they built new revenue streams that ensured Elvis's legacy would endure. Graceland became a National Historic Landmark, cementing its cultural significance. Priscilla, with no formal business training, managed to rebuild what the Colonel had systematically destroyed. The tragedy remains that Elvis himself never saw this prosperity. The empire he built through talent and hard work continues generating wealth he never enjoyed. While Parker drafted the contracts, Elvis paid the price. His story serves as both a cautionary tale about business management and an inspiring example of legacy preservation. Elvis may have lost his fortune through bad deals, but his family ensured his cultural impact would never fade. Colonel Tom Parker made Elvis Presley famous. He also made him a financial prisoner. The 1973 contract systematically stripped away the fortune Elvis rightfully earned. Parker's unprecedented 50% commission, complete control over Elvis's career, and questionable financial decisions cost the king not just his money, but his freedom. By the time Elvis recognized what was happening, irreversible damage had been done. The contract was signed. The rights were gone. His health had deteriorated beyond recovery. Elvis Presley left behind an estate on the brink of collapse on August 16, 1977. Not because his career failed, but because the business system engineered by Colonel Parker succeeded in extracting everything it could. The king of rock and roll sold over 600 million records. His music changed entertainment forever. Yet in his final days, he worried about paying his bills. The revival of his estate under Priscilla's guidance proves what might have been possible had Elvis received proper financial management during his lifetime. The $100 million empire that emerged from the ashes of his financial ruin suggests the true value of what was lost. What's the true measure of success in the music industry? Elvis Presley's story reveals an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the biggest stars shine for everyone except themselves. But it also shows something more hopeful, that with the right vision, even the worst financial disasters can be overcome. Elvis may have lost his fortune, but thanks to Priscilla, his legacy endures richer than ever.